Hi my loves, my name is Lindsay. This will be a DIY fan upgrade for those builder grade fans. I do apologize if it's a little awkward during these talking head shoots. I have been trying to convince myself for so long to start this channel. So with that, I have moved since then. We are in a new home, so this is old footage, but that's how long I've been trying to convince myself to do this. So I will kind of take you along the journey and backdate some of these videos. But yeah, this is my first video. Please comment, like, subscribe, tell me what I need to do different. I do plan on doing just kind of a little bit of everything, so I will not be niche down. Lifestyle, I'm a mom of two, I was prior military. I try to DIY as much as I can. I craft, I am a serial side hustler, so I just want to bring you guys along. With that said, I will play an intro video and then we will get started into the fan upgrade. Thanks for staying. Bye. Okay, let's get into this fan upgrade. So initially I did want to replace the fan entirely, but I don't know if you can kind of tell from this video, the ceilings were vaulted, and because of this there were these down rods so that the fans still hung at the appropriate level, and they are silver. I wanted black, and so rather than me having to get a super tall ladder because I'm scared of heights, I opted to just do a DIY upgrade for myself. The first thing that I'm going to do is remove the blades from the fan housing. That's what you see me doing here. Now, when I'm removing this part, you will kind of see me struggling here a little bit to get the hardware out. There was a little inset from the metal hardware into the fan blade, so I had to kind of use the screwdriver to pry it out. It wasn't hard. I did have to push a little bit, but it was not hard. But I'm just taking all of these pieces of hardware off. I did want the paint to be thorough. I didn't want to have to paint in between the little details on the metal hardware, and so I removed them completely so that when I painted the fan blades, the color was spread throughout and it was even. At this point, I just gathered all of the hardware, including the screws and the washers, and I did a bleach and water mixture and just soaked them that way. You do want to make note of the two different types of screws. So you have the screws that secure the fan blades onto the hardware, and then you have the screws that secure the entire fan blade and the hardware onto the fan housing. So just make sure you make note or write down, if you need to, what screws go where. You don't want to mess that up. Here I am just scrubbing these down. I opted to do it in the sink. What I will say with this part, these fan blades are MDF, so you need to be aware of the type of material that your fan blades are made out of if you are doing this. If they are MDF, it can swell, and you will see a part later in the video where there was a small crack in the fan blade and I left it exposed to the water too long, so it did swell a bit. So you just want to keep in mind that if yours are not wood or plastic or metal, that you're not leaving it sit in the water too long so that it doesn't ruin the fan blades. That would be a much more expensive upgrade. But I just scrubbed all of the years of dirt and grime. This house was built in 2002 and we bought it in 2017. And so I couldn't even tell you how they were taken care of before we bought the house. I cleaned them about every other month, but they were pretty gross. Not gonna lie. Before doing this part, you do want to make sure that the switch is in the off position, or for an extra safe measure, just go ahead and pull that circuit breaker. And this is so you don't electrocute yourself, specifically because you have to remove the light bulbs, which you saw me trying to just remove the globe beforehand, and they will not come off if the light bulb is installed. So you want to remove all the light bulbs, and then these glass globes are secured by, mine had 3 screws. I think that's pretty standard. but there is a lip on the globes, and when the screws are installed, they hug the lip. For cleaning the housing, again, you just want to make sure that the switches are off and or the circuit breaker is pulled. You don't want to electrocute yourself while you're trying to clean it. This is the lip that I was talking about. Now I did go from the glazed glass to the clear glass, and both of them did have that same lip, which again I think is pretty standard. I am not an expert, so don't quote me on that. But in this part, I am just installing all of the glass globes onto the housing. It can tilt sideways if you don't tighten all the screws evenly, so you just want to be mindful of that as well. And now while I'm sitting here looking at this, editing the footage, I do wish that I would have had the forethought to kind of go up close to the fan housing so that I could show in better detail. I do apologize that I didn't. Oh, wait, I did. Just kidding. Kind of. I'm kind of all over the place. But you can see the screws and how they're hugging on to the glass globe. I don't know what I was talking about. I wish I would have heard my voice. But that way you just kind of have a close-up view of what I was talking about with the screws hugging the lip. After getting all of the glass globes secured, I did go ahead and install the light bulbs. And next I am fixing the chains or the pull cords. They were super short on these fans, as you can see. I had to climb the tall ladder to get to them. So I found these cute pull cord attachments at Walmart, as well as pull cord extensions. And the chain's super easy to cut through, so I just cut because I thought these were too long. I didn't want anybody to walk into them. So I just cut to the height that I wanted and then attached the pull cord little accessories that I found. I used Sherwin-Williams, the color tricorn, for my blades. And since this was my first time painting fan blades, I wasn't sure how it was gonna go. So I just kind of am inspecting them here, and this is where I was talking about it swelling because it was MDF. So that's what you want to be mindful of. But anyways, I wasn't sure how the texture or anything else was going to come out. I think if I were going to do this again, I would probably sand down the fan blades just a little to help the paint stick a little better and maybe hide a little bit more texture. Also, if you have the ability to, definitely recommend painting outside. My kids were young and sleeping at the time, and I did not want to leave them in the house alone, and so I opted to do it inside. And I just made sure that I covered my surface so I didn't get my table dirty. But yeah, here I am just rolling it on. This is an interior cabinet roller, so it's supposed to dry smooth. It looks very textured, and it looked very textured at the time when I was painting it. I was very nervous how it was going to come out, but honestly it ended up coming out okay. These were the old pull cord accessories. They were cracked and disgusting. And so this is just, those are the ones I found at Walmart. I think they were like $4 maybe. And then the extension was maybe $2. It was a pretty cheap upgrade. I think the paint maybe cost me $9 or $10. So that's after I got them all painted. I did go to bed after this. It was getting pretty late, and I needed to wake up early for my kids. And so, yeah, that's all I did for this day, or the first day. This definitely, if you have the time, would be a one-day project. I just didn't want to have to do it while watching my kids, so I waited until they went to bed. But if you only had a day, it'd totally be doable. This is just something else I do, a little hack. I'm sure multiple people know about it. I did not want to dump my paint in or waste it, and so I covered it with a bag to keep it all the moisture in. So if you don't know, you can do that. It works great. This is the next day. I did end up doing 2 coats, I think. And I thought I had it on video, but I guess not. But I did end up doing 2 coats, and I, just kind of looking at them here, inspecting them just to make sure they were good. And then I start putting all the hardware on, so you can see me here kind of squeezing the hardware in with those insets that I was talking about earlier. You also want to be careful when you're doing this too, that you don't over tighten the screws. There is only so far they can go in because the hardware is only so deep. But if you do put them too tight, you can crack the boards. And so you just want to be mindful of using power tools and things like that. It's much easier to tell the tension on it when you're using a hand screwdriver. Here on this part, you can kind of see the insets poking through those holes a little. You also want to make sure there's indents, or there were indents on the side that it was in before from where it was pushed in. So I tried to make sure that I installed them the same way I took them off or removed them, just to make sure I didn't throw anything off balance. Again, I'm not a professional, so I don't know, but I feel like that makes sense, or could make sense if you installed something incorrectly. And so I wanted to make sure that my fan still worked the way that I needed it to. So I tried to put everything back the way that it came. Obviously it was a little difficult since I painted them, but you can see here I didn't push the inset in enough, so there's a gap. You want to make sure that you push those in, or while you're tightening the screw, make sure that it just kind of closes that gap up. You also want to make sure that when you're taking the hardware off of these fan blades, that if your setup includes washers, you want to make sure you keep track of those washers and use those. Try to stick to as close to the setup as it was that when you pulled it down. And that's what I'm just trying to show, the washer right here. You do want to be mindful of doing any kind of upgrades too, if it was installed or came with any kind of warranty or anything like that, because it was professionally done. Doing things like this can void your warranties, so you want to just make sure that you don't void any warranties doing DIYs. It's not worth it. It was a little difficult putting the fan blades back up by myself. The screws are not magnetic, so they would not stick to my screwdriver. And so I was having to do it while holding the screwdriver under my chin, and it was just so awkward trying to get it started because the screws are already smaller. If you can though, what I ended up doing was getting them threaded, at least 1 or 2 threads in. That way, using the screwdriver, I just tightened it just a little. In this shot here, you really can see the long down rod coming down from the ceiling. And then in this clip, I'm just showing you, be mindful when you're putting the screws in that you're using the right distance screws or screw holes. If you put them in on the wrong side, it's not gonna line up when you go to put all the rest of the fan blades in. For some reason, when I was putting the fan blades back on, in my head it made the sense to offset, like basically skip a spot when I was putting the blades on to help balance it out so there wasn't too much weight on one side. But as you'll see, when I get down the ladder to put the rest of the blades up, it does not matter. It continues to spin from the weight of the blades that are on there. So I don't know if you need to put them in differently or if you can go in order, but it did not help in my case. So do with that information what you will. This was a super easy and fun DIY for me. I don't know if you'll be able to tell in the video. In person, I felt like it made such a huge difference and it updated the space a lot, especially adding the pull strings that were updated, the the clear glass globes instead of the glazed ones, and then just having the black with everything else being so light because it was such an open area. I liked it. I enjoyed it, and I thought it made a big difference. You'll see here, I'll show a clip of both sides. This one is in my living room, and I have an identical one that's in my kitchen, which I also did the one in my kitchen. I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think. I know some people might prefer the white ones better. I like the black fans. I thought it brought the space together, and it was a fun and easy DIY. So hopefully this helps someone, and let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.